Log months of sensor data to an SD card, just like you're writing to a desktop file system. Today I'm going to hook up an SD card and its breakout to a Pico W and use the Pico VFS library so you can get fopen, fprintf and fclose. This is proper high-level C file I/O on bare metal, perfect for persistent sensor data readings, or system logs if you like. Let's get it wired. Now, how do we read from an SD card? Well, actually there are two ways to read from an SD card. We can use something called SPI, which is an interface we frequently use to actually connect up peripherals to microcontrollers. And largely it's really a two-line protocol with some control lines in as well. Or there's another protocol called SDIO. Now SDIO actually uses 4 data lines, which makes it significantly faster. The libraries I'm going to use today is from a guy called Oyama, and it's called Pico VFS. And it's the simplest way I've found so far to use an SD card on a Pico with the Pico SDK. Now, unfortunately, the default drivers within this library only allow us to use an SD card in SPI mode, which is fine for what we're going to do here actually. I might at some point try and actually write a SDIO driver for it, because I think that would be nice and beneficial to have, but there isn't one there by default. Now, of course, our micro SD cards need some sort of breakout so that we can actually plug them into something and connect over to our Pico. And there are a variety of breakouts available in sort of different form factors, and they all actually seem to include slightly different naming for all of the pins, which I find a little bit confusing. So for your reference, this is pretty much the standard set of pins that you will find on an SD card. And I've given you here some of the alternative names. I mean, things like named on one as command is actually named on the other one as MOSI. Things as data 0 is sometimes mentioned as MISO. Clock is spelt in lots of different ways. This is kind of confusing, but here I'm trying to give you what I think are the translations so that you know what we're talking about. Now we're going to of course connect to this using SPI, and so we don't need to use all of these pins. We of course need some power and ground, and then we're going to use MOSI and MISO, which are basically the data pins plus a chip select and a clock. Now I'm going to use SPI1 on my Pico to do this, and the ports that I'm going to basically use is I'm certainly going to take 3 volts out of the standard 3-volt pin on a Pico, and ground, well, that can come from any of the ground pins. I've just shown here it coming out of the right near our 3-volt pin. And then I'm going to use SPI1, so I'm going to use pins 10 to 13, or GP10 to GP13 as the connections. So GP10 becomes our clock, GP11 becomes basically MOSI, GP12 will be MISO, and GP13 will be our chip select. So over in the repo, I've got a number of experiment projects. Seeing here under the EXP folder, and under lib we've got a few libraries, but actually the only one you need to worry about that's in the examples we're talking about first is this Pico VFS one. And this library is nice and very well written, which means that actually to include it in our projects we actually just need to do this include here, where I'm basically going to include, well, I've set up what is a variable to point to where my shared library is, because I'm sharing this library between the sub projects. So I'm just going to set a variable to give the location of it, and I can then just add that as a subdirectory for that location. Now, because that subdirectory isn't under the main project and is shared, I have to give add subdirectories a second target, a binary location. So I'm telling it that this is where to find the source code, but please, for this project, build it into the area Pico VFS. That's all we need to do. We do actually then need to include a second set of macros, which we do from this file here, again within that path of that project, and that gives us a magic final bit of CMake magic, which is in the source codes folders CMake file, and at the end of that we basically just add the command pico enable file systems, and that's enough to actually get it to add all of the libraries and all of the definitions we need to actually make all of this code actually work. So that's really cool and really easy to use. Now, the other thing we're going to need to do with every one of these in order that we can use an SD card is we're going to have to write a myfsinit function, which is here. And that's basically going to work with our SD card. So I've defined here for my SD card and how I've got it connected up as I've talked through, and I've defined all of the ports as they are defined on my Pico, and then I'm going to basically give that to this block device as I initialize it. So it's going to be on SPI1, and then I'm going to give it basically the transmit, the receive, the clock and the chip select, and I'm going to allow it to run at 10 megahertz, and that will give us a block device to be able to access the SD card. Now, we've got on that SD card also a FAT file system, so I'm going to create a FAT file system there, and then I'm going to mount that SD card onto that FAT file system with a root folder that is basically just going to be stroke. So I'm mounting that all at the root so that that SD card becomes the whole of that. With this library, which is really, really cool, actually I could mount several SD cards plus flash in memory plus other stuff that I was using and create a file system much like you would get on Linux, which is a nice way of looking at this world. So this is the important key function that we're going to do to enable this library to work and to give us access to that SD card. And it's that then allows us to write really simple code to open files and write to it. Okay, so the first example I want to look at in the repo is I'm just going to really write and do a write test to the SD card. And that's this example here. So let's just start by just having a look at main, and then I'll move out from that. So we're going to use a temperature sensor in all of these examples. So here I've got a temperature sensor that I'm just initializing. So that's going through the ADC init, enabling the sensor and selecting the ADC channel. Now, I've got other videos that talk about how to use temperature sensors, so I won't go into too much detail on here. But yes, we've got this temperature sensor in it, and we've got this function to actually read the temperature in Celsius. And then main is basically going to open up a file for us, and it's going to put some header information into that file. It's going to nuke that file every time it runs, so every time the Pico boots up, it will actually nuke that file and start from again from scratch. We could have put append in that open, but I didn't. I wanted it to nuke, so it will actually then tell me the seconds since the Pico booted is what I'm going for. So we're just setting this up as a CSV file basically, and then we're going to close the file, because then every time we go through the loop, every 10 seconds, we're going to actually process a new reading. And the new reading code is basically just going to open this for append, use fprintf to write out to our file, and gives us the time since boot in seconds, and then the actual temperature as read from our device. That's it really. That's how I'm doing it and processing it to give us that nice sensory file. We could protect the data that we're creating on the SD card using our sponsored service, WolfSSL. In a world where your data never stops moving, protection can though slow you down. WolfSSL brings security built for speed and powered by WolfCrypt. With industry-leading encryption, WolfCrypt locks your files down the moment you've created them, keeping them safe whether they're stored, shared or on the move. Lightweight, FIPS validated and trusted across embedded systems, IoT and the cloud. WolfSSL, fast, proven and secure. Protect what matters with WolfCrypt. In some situations, of course, just having data and having it timestamped as the seconds since boot of the device will be absolutely fine. But what if we wanted an actual timestamp that had real time? Could we do that? I'm running this on a Pico W, so of course I can do that because I can actually get time from SNTP. And that's what I'm going to do in this example. Now, that means things are going to become a little bit more complicated in our makefile, because in order to get the whole TCP/IP stack running in a nice way for me, and how I normally do in my code, I'm going to have to add in a couple more includes and one more library. I'm going to use the library FreeRTOS because that gives me then a TCP/IP stack that's actually run within a task and all handled for me without having to worry about polling things and stuff. So that's my preferred way. So these three commands down here are basically just going to bring in the FreeRTOS library, which was sitting over here. There we go. I'm also going to have to configure the IP stack a little bit for the Pico, and I'm going to do that using some definitions I've written in LWIP imports. So you see I've got here a FreeRTOS import, which is going to do some nice code and is just copy and pastable between projects, and I've got an LWIP import, which is just porting in some of my LWIP code. Now that you saw there refers to this additional folder we've got in here. So in this project, not only do I have a source folder, but I have a port folder. And what does a port folder mean? Well, it means take the libraries and add this code to make those libraries run nicely in my environment for this project. So for LWIP, for example, we're going to have some include files in here, which are just going to adjust the IP stack a bit, give us a little bit more thread stack size. I think I reduced some boxes for TCP. I've made sure that a few things are turned on. I've enabled SNTP, which is critical here because that's stuff we need. And there's also some pools stuff I did here around its memory usage. So there are bits of configuration I've done, though often I just copy that these days between project to project because I've done that configuration once. For most of my projects, it's good enough and boilerplate. And the same thing applies to my configuration of FreeRTOS kernel to run on the Pico. So this just configures how I want memory management to work, where it's using the heap, how I want all of those things to working. Key in here is things like making or any C++ code I use FreeRTOS's heap memory rather than just default heap, as FreeRTOS provides us its own memory stack. So with those, I can then get things up and running. So I guess let's talk about my FSInit again, because that's just exactly the same. We've not changed anything. We've got exactly the same code for initializing this SD card and mounting it. Our main program is very similar too. We're still initializing the temperature sensor. We've still got the same function to read it. We've still got the same function that we're running for the new readings. The real difference here is that in our main program has become a task, which is being initialized through main as it starts up a scheduler, which is what FreeRTOS gives us. So we could run multiple tasks in here. I've only got one because we only need one task for this particular example, but you could have multiple. Although I've only got one task, actually there will be 3 tasks running. And there will be something called an idle task, which actually deals with callbacks and timers. And there will be something called a TCP/IP task. That TCP/IP task is kind of critical because that's what's managing the TCP/IP stack for us. So I'm going to initialize my Wi-Fi setup, and then I'm going to join the local Wi-Fi network. I've got using the SID and password that I'm passing in. I pass those in as using an environmental variable technique that you can see me talk about in some of my other videos. It means I never actually have to put what my Wi-Fi credentials are in any of my builds. It's actually just passing in every time I compile. And to check we're up and running, I'm going to print out the MAC address of my device and its IP address. And then I'm going to add the SNTP server. So there are lots of SNTP servers that are time servers out there on the internet. I've talked about this previously in a video actually. And basically we just need to give it an address that it's going to use. So I'm giving it one of the UK pools of SNTP servers, and then I'm going to start it synchronizing. And this code that I've written in this class over here, Wi-Fi helper, is basically going to do the work for us, because it's going to set up some synchronization between SNTP, so it will get the time back from SNTP, and then it will set it onto the always on clock timer on the Pico. In fact, if I have a quick scan through here, I should be able to pick that up for you. So when the time comes back through this, we get that time in seconds and microseconds, and we're going to use it to send the always on timer the actual time. And that's what's then going to constantly give us a place to go to get real time. Let's head back to main, because at this point we're going to drop into what looks very similar to the code we've seen previously. We're just running this loop forever, and we're going to read the sensor readings, and that's go to sleep for 10 seconds roughly. We're not using sleep ms milliseconds now, because we're in this multitasking environment, so we use a different function called vtask delay. But otherwise it is the similar function and similar behavior, and that gives us now this SD card and readings. That means that we've actually got a proper timestamp where we got the date and time that a reading was taken. So if I have a look at my SD card here, and I've just plugged it into my laptop, I can see that I've actually got the sensors.csv file there, and we can open that up, and we will get numbers load up, and here we've got a nice table where we've got the timestamp and the Celsius reading at that time, and you can see those readings nicely coming in there. With Pico VFS, SD card logging feels just like it does on a desktop. We can fopen, write, done. I've stuck to a simple CSV sensor data file here, but if you'd like me to push these logs to a server on a schedule, drop a comment below saying SCP demo. If this just saves you a weekend of debugging, a super thanks is the best way to fuel deep dive Pico tutorials, or use the tip link in the description. For another secondary storage route, check out my guide on using USB drives with the Pico right here. See you on the next one.